Pokemon, a franchise that's played a huge part of my life, and honestly has many, and I mean many, different cool designs. I mean, just look at Charizard, a literal fire dragon, or a Pokemon named Moraidon, which is basically just a motorcycle. So, in today's video, I'll be turning some of my favorite Pokemon into anime characters. And in order to do that, I'm first going to be looking for key elements of what makes that specific Pokemon interesting, such as the backstory or any interesting details of the Pokemon. Then I'm going to create a rough concept sketch using references that highlight their features or maybe some clothing ideas. And hopefully by the end of it, I'll be able to create a fully rendered piece. Wish me luck! So the first Pokemon I'm going to be drawing is Mimikyu, a ghost and fairy type Pokemon, which has a very interesting but also sad backstory. If you didn't know, this Pokemon actually disguises itself as Pikachu to try to get along with other people. It is believed that seeing its true form will cause a mysterious illness or even a painful death. And because of this, Mimikyu will try to stop other people from trying to see under their disguise. And so, I kinda wanna incorporate this in my design as well. So what I did is I created a clothing piece that could kinda conceal and hide a big part of the character. And what better way to do that than to create a giant cloak covering their entire body? It definitely made doing the anatomy a bit easier. It's a bit of a cheat, I can't lie, but hey, you got the job done, right? When it came to the background, I kinda wanted to make the shading dark and gloomy, as apparently Mimikyu doesn't really like the sunlight and light. So I think it'd be really cool to have a flashlight kind of shining on Mimikyu as she's a bit frightened by it.
Mimikyu, a ghost and fairy type Pokemon. It conceals its appearance beneath an old rag so it can get closer to people and other Pokemon.
Alright, and this is how the final piece turned out. I ended up really liking the background. I wasn't expecting to put Mimikyu eyes at the back, but I think it was a cool addition to add in the end. Alright, let's move on to the next Pokemon. Okay, for my second drawing, I'm going to be doing Greninja, a water and dark type Pokemon that uses water and compresses it into various weapons to help slice up enemies. One thing I really like about this Pokemon is its ninja-like theme. A lot of its water weapons tend to be throwing stars and kunais. I also really like how the tongue is used kind of like a scarf. I think it's a very unique way to use a frog's tongue. So, when it came to coming up with the concept of this character, I feel like it was very straightforward. I used a lot of references for ninja-like clothing, as well as a pose I could use for my final piece. A thing that I ended up really liking was the hair of the character. I kind of matched the color scheme of the yellow and blue from the original Pokemon into the hair, and I think it turned out pretty cool. I don't normally do these spiky-like hairstyles, so it was pretty fun to do as well. Alright, let's speed up the time lapse a little. When thinking about the composition, I wanted it to be very dynamic, so I ended up making the character use a ninja star or be in the middle of throwing a ninja star, and I think that really added to the ninja aesthetic. I also really like the little leg plates I put onto the character. Since Greninja has such huge lower legs, adding those leg plates created a silhouette that kind of followed the original Pokemon.
Greninja, a water and dark type Pokemon. It creates throwing stars out of compressed water, and at high speed, has the ability to split metal.
Alrighty, Greninja done. I think this one's my favorite so far. I really like how the background turned out. I think it turned out amazing. And how the grass kind of hides the silhouette or hides the character a bit more. Very fitting for a ninja. One of my favorite Pokemon is Reshiram, a fire and dragon type Pokemon. Honestly, I kind of want to do something a bit special for this one, just because Gen 5 was kind of like my first Pokemon game. So we'll see what we can do. When starting out this design, one thing that really stuck out to me was Reshiram's hair. I feel like I could do something really cool, make it very flowy, and add a bit of a red tinge at the end of it. I didn't realize, but there's also these little two flicks of hair at the top. I don't know if that's ears or anything, but I also wanted to include that in the hairstyle. I think it looks cute. Now, when it came to the clothing, I wanted to make it a coat, kind of similar to how Reshiram's tail looks, with those rings and stuff like that. However, instead of making it a bit gray or light in color, I wanted to make it a bit darker just to make it pop and add more contrast to the overall clothing. I found that if I made it all white, kind of all blended together, and I needed something to just break it up a little. Okay, now the special thing I wanted to do with Reshiram was make a 2-in-1 piece. I wanted to include not just Reshiram, but also Zekrom. If you didn't know, Zekrom and Reshiram were actually created from a single dragon and were split in two. Reshiram kind of representing truth and Zekrom representing ideals. And ever since, they've kind of always been in conflict. So for the final piece, I kind of want to have like a cool battle scene between Reshiram and Zekrom. Okay, so this one actually took quite a bit of time because not only did I need to find the right pose, which took a while, there's also two people that I have to draw too. Normally I only have to draw one character, but this time I'll have two. And so I ended up going with this reference, and I think this reference kind of showcases both characters nicely, so that's why I went for it. Sometimes I'll look for a reference and they'll be side facing, but I kind of want to showcase both the characters. And for the background, I chose to go for a reference from an anime called Sword Art Online. I think like the sky theme kind of really works for this because they're both like flying Pokemon. They're both dragons. And I thought it would be really cool to kind of reimagine this scene with my characters.
Reshiram, a dragon and fire type Pokemon. Zekrom, a dragon and electric type Pokemon, assisting those who want to build a world of truth and ideals.
Okay, and we're finished. I think that I could probably improve the sparks and the battle sparks a bit more, but honestly, I think overall it looks pretty cohesive and interesting. Let me know what I should do next.